Hello, it's Gary Jordan with the Jordan Property Group, brokered by eXp Realty. Today, I've got an exciting message for you. A good friend of mine from Dallas, Texas, Sean Sturrock, has a super real estate story to tell. Sean, welcome to the interview today. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you. Looking forward to it, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, let's just turn it over to you right away, Sean. You've got a great story to tell. Let's just start off, but tell us about your real estate journey. What got you into the real estate business to begin with?
Yeah, no, definitely, Gary. I'm kind of late to the real estate game, right? I'm 56 years old. Didn't get into real estate until I was basically 50. I've been doing this about 5.5 years, but kind of to lead you up to that, where what was I doing prior? So I come from a corporate America background. I was in corporate America, three different companies for about 25 years. The whole time I was doing that, about those last 10 years, I was dabbling in other things. I had that entrepreneur bug inside of me. I just didn't know what direction to go. Wasn't quite in the position to launch my own company. So believe it or not, I started dabbling even to the world of direct sales, just trying to figure out another way to make additional money. Well, also going back about 15 years ago, I'd read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? And that opened up my mind to how are most people here, at least in the US, creating wealth? And so much of it's been through real estate. So kind of fast forward to make a long story short, what got me into real estate is going back about 6.5 years ago. Like I said, I was dabbling in a few other things, and I had saved up enough money through corporate America and a 401k and all that, where I had a decent little nest egg. Wasn't near ready for retirement, but had a decent little nest egg. But I was at 50 years old going, I'm way far from retirement. I needed to save a ton more. And I'm thinking, God, what else could I be doing? All of a sudden, an opportunity came along my path. It was an oil and gas investment. And me and about five other guys, through a friend that owned the oil and gas company, had put together, if you've ever heard of one of these deals where there's like 5 or 8 well, it was 8 wells being put together. Long story short, the owner, which I'm good friends with, he put a ton of money in. Another good friend of mine that was a business owner, another friend that was a chiropractor. These were all sharp people. Everybody put a big chunk in because it looked like, Gary, a 98% done deal. We looked like we were going to take our money, invest, and within 6 to 9 months, we're all going to make 3 to 4 times our money. So I say that to go, I took a little gamble. I'm kind of a risk taker. I took my entire 401k I had saved up in 25 years, put it in this investment, didn't tell my wife, didn't say anything to my mom and dad about it. I was going to surprise my wife. My thought was I was already going to book a trip to Europe, take her to Italy, to Paris, the whole thing down there. And put the money in, and lo and behold, Gary, when we invested, oil and gas was way up at a high price. About 2.5, 3 months later, it plummeted down to like 40 something a barrel. We lost everything, Gary. And I remember when it happened, the day that we got the call that everything had just imploded. Ooh, that wasn't a good day, Gary. I mean, I had taken 25 to 30 years of savings, and it wiped out. Again, didn't tell the wife and the parents.
Oh boy.
When I did, ooh, that wasn't pleasant. For several
No.
weeks, I heard it, and I can just tell you, it almost put me in the fetal position. And I say that to go, here I am, married, kiddos. I'm 50 years old. It's like I'm starting life over, and I'm hitting my knees. Man, you talk about getting close to the good Lord. I'm praying, going, God, what can I do to make up for what happened? And I say that to lead you up to what got me into real estate. I reflect back on the Robert Kiyosaki book. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can get into investments. Maybe I could flip some properties and maybe make up for that. So I start to dabble into real estate, reach out with a buddy of mine, Bill. He's been my chiropractor for 27 years. He and I start to talk about we could maybe partner up and do something in the real estate space. And then I started going, well, you know what? If we're going to be doing this, I might as well save on my commissions. One of us, let me go ahead and get my real estate license so we can save there. While doing that, about 3 weeks before taking my final, I'd already been interviewed about 6 brokers in Dallas, was debating where to hang my license. I see the company I'm a part of, you're a part of. I see eXp Realty for the first time 3 weeks before taking my test. And I have to admit, when I saw the webinar that night from my sponsor, Rob Flick, who I highly respect, he and his wife, Jen, had been friends of my wife and I, Sonia and I, for about 10 years. And I watched him do a webinar that night. And I remember not only did my jaw hit the ground, I became very emotional. I was almost like, okay, is this the answer? I saw what looked me a way for me to not only make all my money back, but then some, create a retirement income, all while selling real estate, create passive income. This whole model was just so a breathtaking for me, thinking, what an answer to prayer. I got started engaged, and Gary, it's been an unbelievable ride, as you're aware of, and we obviously can elaborate, but I've been very fortunate and blessed to have found this company, and it's helped turn my entire life around, my family, I've been able to set up, my kids now for generational wealth. It's been amazing what's taken place in 5.5 years.
Well, that's quite a boom and bust story. Tell you sure. I've been there and done that too. I was in one of those oil field deals that we all popped the champagne bottle when the first little well started producing, and we broke the bottle over each other's heads 6 months later, wondering what were we thinking.
Interesting. I didn't know that. How long ago did you do yours? How long ago was that?
Oh, that was probably over 30 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Back during the Austin chalk boom, oil field boom in Texas.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it was
I was trying to become one of those oil millionaires, right? It just didn't work out for me, Gary. I had to find other alternatives.
Well, that's amazing. Well, listen, what is it about the interview you saw that night, the webinar you saw with Rob Flick? And I know Rob also. He's a great person and great mentor.
Yeah.
What was it that really kind of caught your attention as being something out of the ordinary besides just real estate sales, real estate opportunity?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Not to get into maybe breaking the whole model down, but I just remember I'd already interviewed with, half a dozen brokers. At that time, I'd already bought 3 houses. I was pretty familiar with the real estate and how it worked. And so obviously I'd interviewed with half a dozen brokers. Some were boutiques, some were large franchises. And, and I was just trying to weigh them out. Which one could I maybe get the best training from? Which one along the path I'm going would make most sense? And as I was weighing that out, when I finally saw this model, I went, wait a second. So not only is this company growing extremely quickly, but they were going to pay me, really at that time, we saw 8 different ways you could get paid. But I know here at our brokerage, we like to focus on 3 of them. And when I watched the webinar that night, one of them that really grabbed my attention also was that I could simply do real estate like I was going to do anyway. And I'd start to get equity ownership in this company. It's like they were going to make me an owner. They make everybody an owner at EXP. And I was just fascinated by that. And I'd already heard stories of people being on board for 1, 2, 3 years, bigger producers that had generated quite a bit of savings by simply selling houses. They were creating an equity for a potential, retirement or exit plan or something. So that was fascinating. Well, the more that I understood the model as he went through the webinar and it was over and I was asking Rob questions, I started asking at that time, 5.5 years ago, Gary, I was saying, Rob, how many other brokerages are doing stuff like this? I remember him looking at me, Gary, saying, Sean, no one that we're aware of. And I said, well, if that is real, everything you showed me, why wouldn't everybody just join EXP? And I remember Rob looking back at me going, well, Sean, one day we think they will. When I looked at this thing, there was about 300 and maybe 80 agents on board. So by the time I came on board 5.5 years ago, this thing, no one even knew who we were. So I was so fascinated and blown away by the value in which the model could help agents that I reached out to a handful of agents asking for their honest opinion. I knew at that time 12 different agents. When I went through, my phone and my Facebook, I had 12 friends of mine that were in real estate in 6 different states. And Gary, I was so blown away by the model and what it could provide. I truly wanted their honest opinion. I reached all 12 of them, my friends, and said, hey, I got my real estate license here in Dallas. I've seen a model unlike anything I've ever seen in this industry. I would love your sincere feedback. I know you've been doing this 6 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it was. They all ranged from about 4 years in real estate to 32 years, Don Robinson. They were all in for different lengths of time. And every one of them did, 2 to 3 million to 25 million. So they were all, doing production, been in real estate. All 12 of them, Gary, looked at it the first 30 days. Within about 7 months, 10 of those 12 agents, which were friends of mine, all made the move over to EXP. And just one of the other ways that we compensate is they'll pay us to help the company grow. And so I started to create this passive income. I had equity from the deals I was doing, and it all just began to take off, fall into place. And the more it began to bless my family, the more excited I was to help other agents see what it was that was blessing me. I began to reach out to a handful of agents. And that third way that we pay you, which is through passive income from building what I call a modern team. You and I, if we want to go down that path, or if people have questions about it, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. But that thing took off, and within a matter of 18 months, it was pretty substantial. I was, very fortunate and blessed, following a very strong 6-figure income at that time in just residual passive income while still doing my deals and creating equity. So I fell in love with the model. Obviously, I'm very passionate about it. I've watched what it's done now for hundreds and hundreds of agents that I know who personally had their lives changed in a very positive way because of this model.
So, Son, you're saying that it really is a possibility that a realtor can replace their commission income with basically referral income over a period of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I've got story after story. I'd love to share one or two with you, Gary, just for the audience, whoever might be listening, just to understand what this can do. Another perfect scenario just happened last month. I have a lady on my team, Nicole. I'll avoid from saying last names. Everybody just start reaching out to all these people. But right here in Dallas, Nicole, been in real estate about I think almost 25 years. We reached out to her about 4 years ago. Her last 6 or 7 years in real estate, when we reached out, she had been at KW, right? Great brokerage. Well, we showed her the model. I'll never forget Nicole at that time was doing about 12 million, pretty big producer. Remember, she looked at it. She told us afterwards, after she ended up joining, she goes, you know what? I have to be straight up with you guys. You weren't even halfway to 2/3 the way through the presentation when I knew in the back of my mind, I've got to do this. She couldn't find anything wrong with the model. When she saw the equity piece, Gary, and the volume she was doing, and she knew that one of the things we have here at our model is we can hit what's called icon, which for the bigger producers doing, 7, 8 million, 25 to 30 transactions, they can get all the commission that they pay, all the breakage they pay back to our broker. They can get all back in the form of equity or stock by simply selling houses and hitting this particular level. Well, Nicole saw that and she said that was what made her pull the trigger. Let me fast forward 4 years. What's happened to Nicole is what's happened to more and more agents. She comes on board, very first year does about 13 million, then does around 15 million, then 18 million. And last year she did 23 or 25 million. Biggest year she'd ever had. I speak to her about a month and a half ago. I interviewed her, Gary, like this, same thing you and I are doing. I didn't know this until her and I were talking. And all of a sudden she goes, Sean, she goes, let me tell you what's going on this year. Even though I did my biggest year I've ever had in 2021, this year I'm purposely going to do 6 to 8 million, not 23 to 25 million. She had decided because her equity was so high, she was making nice revenue share. She did what a lot of agents are doing. She pulled back the throttle on her personal production. She's only working with her really, really, family, real close friends and real close clients. Otherwise, she's given away 15 million this year, giving them out to agents on her team. She just does a 25-75 split, and Nicole has bought her life back. Been in real estate 25 years. In 4 years here, she now no longer has to work really evenings, weekends. She's starting to travel more, spend time with her family. That's what we're seeing, Gary. And that's the same thing that happened to me. It just happened even a little quicker. I was so fortunate and blessed. I was around the 18-month to 2 years that I was able to pull the throttle back and not have to live and die on just the transaction, right? If I don't close a couple houses this month, I can't feed my family. Well, because of equity in the third piece of revenue share, that was already covering all my expenses. So I kind of bought my time back in 18 months. So Gary, it's truly been amazing. Everything about this model, I feel so blessed and just love sharing it with anybody who's open to see what it could do for them.
Well, that's a great story also. Tell me about, I hear this term, traditional team versus modern team. And explain that in a Cliff Notes version.
Okay, absolutely. Well, traditional team we're all aware of, right? Whether you join on somebody's team and they're going to give you something of value above and beyond what you might be getting from just the broker. Maybe they're going to funnel you leads. They're going to give you a transaction coordinator, help with photography, help with marketing, whatever it is. They're going to give you something above and beyond, and you're going to get some kind of split. You hear people at 50-50, 60-40, whatever it is. And we have agents in EXP that have a traditional team. But what EXP has also done is they said, when the owner started our Glenn Sanford started EXP, I thought this was brilliant. From the moment he launched it 13 years ago, he thought, what if I could create a brokerage where I took 50% of every dollar that came in and I dumped it back into the company for better technology, for more leads, for equity ownership, and those who want to help the company grow, they can. And that other piece of helping the company grow, we call that the modern team, meaning I can refer agents over to EXP that join. I get no commission from what they personally do. But because we're all on the same 80-20 split with a $16,000 cap, that money that's being paid into EXP every time they do a deal, EXP shares it with the sponsoring agent and says, thank you, Sean, for bringing in so-and-so. We're going to give you a small percentage of everything they do, but it comes out of EXP's pocket, not out of the agent. It's called revenue share coming from EXP. It's a brilliant idea. It just allows all of us not only to be business owners with equity, but if we want to help the company grow with good quality agents, our company compensates you for that out of their pocket. Does that kind of make sense? Does that help break it down?
Yeah, it makes enough sense to ask to create some curiosity, and
Yeah.
I understand it. I want to hear it from your perspective. How this modern team. I know you're talking about being a small percentage comes from the EXP portion, nothing from the agents portion.
Yeah.
You would think as a team leader of a traditional team, when as a team leader, I'm used to getting maybe 30 or 40% of a agent's commission out of the agent's commission, that this would not work out financially going to the modern team and getting a lot smaller cut.
Well, let me
expand on that. You
Yeah.
personally, over the last 4 or 5 years, Sean,
Yeah.
knowing how this model can create its own life of its own and start
Absolutely.
compounding out of your control, whether you're talking to an agent or not.
Yeah. Well, let me
Go with
elaborate
that.
this way. This will make sense. For most people, when you begin to build a traditional team, most of the time the agents that you're going to have on your team are new agents, new or newer. They're generally, just getting started. They're trying to figure out how to build their business. They don't have leads coming in, right? Maybe they can't take off that quickly with their own credibility and sphere of influence. So they look to join a team. So if you're a team leader, wonderful, but you're generally bringing on new agents. Now what you're doing, you're busy, you're trying to train them, trying to get up and running. You're helping help them do their first few transactions. You're plugging them into training, and you spend a lot of your time and sweat equity trying to get that agent up and running. But yet, what does NAR tell all of us, Gary? That within 3 years, 80% of those agents are out of the industry, right? Nothing wrong with that traditional team. It's literally, you got a 20% chance of bringing on an agent and developing them well enough to where they really do start to produce. Yes, you may be getting a larger split, but remember, 80% of the agents won't make it. So you spend all your time and all of a sudden they're gone and out of the industry. But here's the other thing that happens with most traditional teams. Some of those agents that finally do figure it out, they start to produce, whether it's 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, at some point in time, a lot of those agents go, okay, well, why in the world would I continue to pay 40% to Gary or John, or 30 or 50, whatever split you have? They go, well, heck, I could just be on my own, either spin off, and they either leave you and join another brokerage, right? Or they spin off and become their own independent broker because they want a higher split. Well, over with the modern team, or let me even overlay the both of them. If you're over here at EXP and you have a traditional model, and I have that agent who does start produce and gets up to the 3, 4, 5 million, and maybe I've had a 60-40 split with them. Now all of a sudden, like, you know what, Sean, I don't want to continue to pay 40. I'm going to go on the traditional 80-20 with a 16,000 cap where they can go to 100%. Well, then all of a sudden, instead of leaving me or leaving EXP or becoming an independent, they just leave my traditional team, but they're still on my modern team. And the modern team, if I broke it down like this for you, Gary, if you were an agent that I had brought on board and you went out, let's say this month here in November, and had a home sale and made a $10,000 commission, right? Keep the math simple. 80-20 split. If you weren't capped yet, you'd get 8,000. 2,000 would go to EXP, right? EXP would immediately look at the model and go, okay, who sponsored Gary? Oh, Sean, you did. And they give me 3.5% of that gross commission, which was 10,000. So I would get 350 direct deposit. You get 8,000, but that 350 again didn't come out of your pocket. It came out of EXP sharing the revenue with me and saying, thank you for bringing a quality agent on. We'll give you a percentage of every deal Gary does up until he caps. So the best of both worlds you can have at EXP. Have a traditional team, and as those agents, the ones who do make it become successful, if they decide to spin off from your traditional, they're still on your modern team, and you're still getting overrides from EXP for every time they do a transaction. Does that make sense? Not for all those who might be going, wow, how do I follow all those numbers? Here's all I'd say is, if you're at all intrigued with what Gary and I are talking about, this is just simply an opportunity. Feel free to reach out to either one of us and just go, you know what would this do for me? I'm already doing these kind of numbers, or I've already got a traditional team. We'd be more than happy to kind of walk you through the model just so you understand why we're growing at the pace we are, and just see if it might be a good fit. It may not, but boy, it'd be great. It would behoove you to see if this could be a model that could truly bless you and your family. That's the way I'd wrap that up.
Thank you, Sean. You know, I've always been a self-employed entrepreneur throughout my career, even way before real estate.
Yeah.
And my largest amount of time I spent in real estate was with a big national, well-known franchise. A great experience there. Learned a lot, met a lot of good people. But one thing I was seeing every year, this particular brokerage, and the broker is a good friend of mine, a great guy. I was seeing in his office of 100 plus agents and numerous traditional teams. Every year, some of those biggest producing traditional teams would go out the back door, take agents with them, and set up their own brokerage, and all of a sudden become instant competition. It was sad for me to even see it. It wasn't happening to me.
Yeah. Yep.
And I've also been a team leader, traditional team leader, and I can say from experience, though, it is a 24/7 babysitting job, overseeing a traditional team of mostly new agents, helping them get started, helping them avoid, failure in real estate, which most of them are gonna fail. It was a struggle. It was a real struggle. Now, this is an important question. As a new realtor or as a entrepreneur and so forth, there's something I've heard about, you mentioned before, called the Freedom Team, which is, I think, part of the EXP in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
What's this Freedom Team all about, Sean? And why is it a real extra value above and beyond the normal values and values that EXP brings to the table?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm very proud, Gary, that we're a part of this Freedom Team. So if I can expand on it a little bit, as we were watching EXP continue to grow, and it is one big fire, one big team, we all help each other, and that is so true. But at the same time, it's obviously a very large organization. We're growing by 500 to 1,000 agents a week. And I think as you and I do this interview, we're around that 85,000 agents. Well, we were starting to realize a bunch of us all on our team, we're all starting to talk amongst each other and going, what else could we do to possibly make this even more inviting and more stickiness, that when agents came over, they really found not only EXP, but within EXP, a place they could really call home, have some really close relationships, and we could do stuff together all the time. And we began going, what if we could create our own team within this EXP umbrella? So we created with the Freedom Team probably about 15 months ago, started to put things together, hired an executive assistant in January, Kim Herrera. If anybody watching this, we'd be more than happy to introduce you to her. 26 years experience. She came on board and we started to have her implement all these different systems. Our team does our own internal Zooms now, Monday through Friday at the same time, same Zoom link, and we're masterminding. 25 to 50 of us get together 4 days a week, and we're constantly helping each other, lifting each other up. Everybody's able to communicate, talk with each other, helping each other. So not only do you have all the support of EXP, now they get all the support of the Freedom Team. We've taken the onboarding experience, you and I, we've now put Kim in charge to make it like a white glove onboarding. She'll spend an hour with anybody who joins, walk them through everything, make sure they're familiar with it, how and where to find support, the best training classes. It's really been, it's elevated our team, Gary and I, that you were part of, and everybody can see the little logo up there, the Freedom Team. Now when agents come on, they're not just joining us, they're joining our little group family that we've created over here. When everybody started to truly interact, we go to the events, all of us hang out together. And now there's this other new proud group that's growing, and we're all loving being a part of this Freedom Team and what it can provide. So we've done the white glove onboarding. We've got drip campaigns put together to help our agents. We do lead generation every single week on Wednesday. We have a class that leads that, and just different masterminds with some of our top agents on our team who get in every single week and train on whatever's they're really good at. So we've taken this huge company, narrowed it down to our Freedom Team. And just for those agents that are looking for culture, camaraderie, they want to be able to communicate and talk to other agents and so forth, we have created that here. And I think it's better than anything I've ever seen out in the marketplace. And I'm getting that not from me, from agents who have joined us that have fallen in love with this Freedom Team and how we all interact almost on a daily basis, Gary. So it's been, truly just another part of something that we've been able to create that is really helping every one of these agents, team leaders, and brokers who come on board.
Now, the Freedom Team is about 3,000 agents strong, correct me if I'm wrong, whereas EXP as a whole is 85,000. So we just kind of funnel it down to 3,000 of a smaller group that meet on a regular basis above and beyond the EXP offerings of 50 or 75 hours per week of training and so forth. What I have found, Sean, is the fact that we have more collaboration now, especially through the Freedom Team. get to know more agents around the country who are big producers than I
Mhm.
ever experienced before in a traditional real estate environment. I'm reaching out to people, talking to them on a daily basis. I have their phone numbers, have their email addresses. I see their faces on Zoom meetings and so forth. So
Yeah.
I've met a lot more agents than I ever had before. And I know a lot of concerns people have sometimes are going with a so-called virtual real estate company.
Yeah.
In the cloud kind of company is, I'm never going to see anybody I know. I'm going to be by myself. Nobody's going to help me and so forth. But I can assure you, my experience is if you'll show up
Yep.
for these webinars, if you'll open your laptop up, even if you're wearing your pajama bottoms, it's okay.
Yeah.
You plug
Yeah.
into it and you start listening and you start learning, and you start communicating with these agents around the country. It's the biggest and best opportunity I've ever seen as far as collaboration, having people to talk to, bounce things off of, and improve and enhance your real estate career.
Yeah.
Would you concur with that?
100%. Great way to have communicated. Yeah. Love it.
Well, Sean, as we start wrapping this up today, I want to try to hold it to around 30 minutes or less. Any power phrases, anything power messages you wanted to mention that we haven't covered so far?
No, it's funny when we do these, in hopes that agents who see this out there, your curiosity is there to at least understand what the model could potentially do for you. And if there's something I love about us being able to share this, Gary, it's with zero pressure. We're not asking someone to, switch brokers. We're just asking them, would you be open to evaluate the model and truly have someone personalize it for you, break it down so they could truly see what it could do for them with the kind of production they're doing and with whatever needs they might have. Because I always say this, and I truly feel very strongly about this, because everybody says, well, is EXP for everybody? I'm going to say, no, it's not for everybody. But here's who it's not for. I'm going to say it's for probably 90% of the agents. Here's the agents it may not be for. If you're getting into the real estate space just to be very part-time, maybe you're going to close 1, 2, maybe 3 homes at most a year, then it may not be the best model. If you're just going to dabble in it and you just want to be like at a transaction fee, only paying $250, and you don't ever look to really take it on as a full-time career and grow your real estate business, may not be a good fit. Other than that, Gary, I haven't come across anybody that if you're in real estate full-time and your goal is to grow your production and you're in this business to as a career, I can't think of a better place to park your license, not just because of the 8 different ways we pay you, but the 3 different ones we talked about, but also who you're able to associate with. Gary, this has been the biggest thing that I've seen now. I mean, we on our team, we have hundreds and hundreds of icon agents, again, people doing 8 to 25 to 30 million, and we're able to communicate with them anytime we want, every single day. We've all got phone numbers. We text each other. We call each other. You're rubbing shoulders and learning from some of the best, not just in your city, but the people doing a lot of our mastermind and trainings. They're the best in the country. And we have literally just in our EXP training classes that we have online, 15, 20, sometimes 25 classes a day. And probably 10 or 15 of those are being led by icon agents, some of the top in the country. So you're always on a daily basis, you can learn from the best of the best in the entire US, not just the best in your office. So that's just how I summarize it. It's also about who you get to hang around with and learn from. Then to think that you have this vehicle, this kind of a model that can truly set you up for retirement, help you create passive income, and create what you're probably really looking for in real estate. I think it's all here for all of us, Gary.
Well, Sean, appreciate your time today. I will ask one kind of a personal question as far as your growth with your real estate business in the last 4.5 years.
Okay.
You chose to run with the EXP model because you had a great mentor, a very experienced mentor, and Rob Flick, who was a big KW producer and KW franchise owner, region owner, and so forth.
Yeah.
In 5 years of your experience with this model, I know you're a hardworking guy too. What is the size now of your modern team? How many agents do you have in your organization?
It's
ballpark.
Yeah, hard to fathom, but it's upwards now at around 2,500 agents. And let me say this for everybody, put this in perspective. I've been here 5.5 years. So what is that? About 66 months. I have in 5.5 years referred, sponsored, recruited, whatever word you want to give it. I've sponsored 54 agents total in 66 months. So not even one a month. Like every month and a half, I've had someone come on. That in itself, those 54 have brought on a couple hundred agents. Those couple have brought on 300 or 400 agents. And it went down, and we have a model that pays through 7 tiers. It is, again, truly unbelievable when you understand the model. Those 54 that I shared it with have entirely changed my life because it led to 2,500 agents. And even though I'm overriding maybe 1,500 of those, we won't go into the detail, but somewhere along 1,000 transactions a month is what my family and I are able to override. So whether I have a home seller not here in November, I'll probably wrap up the month with somewhere around 1,000 transactions being closed that I'm being compensated on, all because 5.5 years ago, I got excited about what I saw, reached out to some agents. I wanted their true opinion, and I thought it could also help them. They looked at it, and all of a sudden, this thing began to roll. And today, I can't even slow it down, Gary. There's probably on average about 50 agents a month that are joining the Freedom Team, whether I do anything or not. That's where it's reached a point now where it has a mind of its own. And so I find myself again today going, what could I do to help other agents on our team and other agents around the country that are not aware that what this model could really do for them? And that's why I love sharing it, to see if it might be a good fit and hopefully help change and bless their lives.
Well said, Sean. I really appreciate your time today. All these valuable nuggets. Those of you who are watching today, if you have any questions, have any curiosity, for more information about some of these terms that Sean and I are talking about, reach out to me. This will all be posted on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so forth. My personal phone number for voice or text is 719-502-7176. And I welcome your call. I welcome a conversation. But we just encourage you. It doesn't cost anything to take a look at this.
Yeah.
It could cost you and your family a whole lot not to take a look at it.
Agreed.
So, Sean, once again, have a great rest of the day. Have a great weekend. I wish you nothing but the best for the holiday season coming on. I know, like you, like me, we'll be buckling up and working twice as hard during the holiday season.
You got
most realtors are taking time off. We're setting the table for next year. So
you got it.
Appreciate you, and said nothing but the best. Take care now.
Got it. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.